It doesn't matter what your dreams and hopes and ambitions are. It doesn't matter if you have a new boyfriend or a new girlfriend or you've got plans for the future. You can forget those plans because you're going to wind up dead.
Welcome to a new episode of Decayed Tapes. I am Max Booth. I am joined with my co-host,
Miguel Myers.
There you go, buddy. And today we'll doing something different. We'll interviewing someone. We have a guest on the show, first ever guest, Gary P. Cohen. Please say something awesome.
No pressure. No pressure.
All right. Well, my name is Gary Cohen, and I have the dubious honor of being the director of Video Violence and its sequel, And Captives.
And you also put out a pretty fun documentary as well.
I did the documentary and Halloweenville.
Yeah, I just watched that today, Halloweenville. Pretty fun. I want to move to that town.
Oh, Lambertville is great.
Yeah.
So, Gary, so what we do here at Decay Tapes, Max and I are lifetime horror fans, horror movies, horror literature, all that sort of stuff. But we found that I know for myself personally, shot on video horror is something that we were kind of missing out on, and it's something that I always wanted to look into and get some more just information on, just dive deep into that. And so this is, we've just very recently launched the podcast like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And so we decided to launch it with your title, Video Violence. That's how that's how much we enjoyed the movie. Cool. And so I just wanted you to understand, like, we're not experts in SOV or anything like that. We are just lovers of all things horror and are now looking to kind of shore up our knowledge of shot on video. And we thought, who better to talk to about that than Gary P. Cohen. So thank you so much for being on. So we had some questions for you.
Sure.
Can you talk a bit about your experience with 42nd Street? It's a moment in time that people born afterward can only relive through film shot there. So we thought that it was a good idea to document that period as much as possible whenever we speak to somebody who was lucky enough to be around at its high point. Would you be able to walk us back in time a bit and talk to us about 42nd Street?
So you're talking about in the 70s?
Yes.
Oh, well, all right. I went directly from Hofstra University to getting a job at the William Morris Agency. I started out in the mailroom and I worked my way up in 6 years to being an agent. And then I left because I hated it. But I was living in Jersey and William Morris office was on Avenue of the Americas and 55th. So I would take the bus or the train in and walk to work. And the most fun part of walking to work was 42nd Street. This was the height of porn, 35 millimeter porn movies. The theaters would often show 2 or 3 back to back. And I suppose it's got a reputation of being a frightening place. I never found that. No one ever bothered me. And it was also not only of 35 millimeter porn movies, but there were porn shops every 30 feet. So it was an interesting time.
So I find like nowadays porn and like the sex industry is more like ubiquitous in society. But it feels like more like in the 70s, it was more like to the margins and people judged people more for like partaking in it or buying, like it was seedy and you had to like hide your face when you're going in the shops. Is that right? Is that the feeling? Was that the feeling?
I would certainly think you would hide your face going into the shops. But once Deep Throat came out and Miss Jones and the Marilyn Chambers films, then it became chic to go to the movie theater and see a porn movie. Not on 42nd Street, but in the rest, fancier parts of New York. It became very, very chic to go do that.
Yeah. And so would you be able to talk to us about how you came to own two mom and pop video stores in the 80s? What it was
Sure.
like and what you miss about it, that sort of thing.
So, okay, when I left William Morris, I, for whatever reason, opened a tropical fish store. I guess it was a hobby that I thought I could turn into a business, and I did for a little while. Then I sold it as video stores were starting to open up. So my timing with my ex-wife was good. We were part of a franchise called the Video Studio. I think when we opened ours in Islin, we were the third video studio. Then we did Bound Brook, which made the fourth one. And we did it for several years until Blockbuster knocked out every mom and pop video store.
What was so you talked about Blockbuster Video coming in. What was the decline like? How were they just undercutting you, or was it just like the sheer like advertising, or nobody wanted to support local business? What do you think it was?
No, it certainly wasn't that anyone didn't want to support local business. I think that folks your age really missed out on an experience by not having video stores exist nowadays. It was a social event. It was more than someone just coming in and putting down their $3 or whatever it was. They wanted to talk video. They wanted to know what was coming out soon. They wanted to know what we would recommend in a foreign film, recommend in a horror film, recommend in a porn film. What Blockbuster did is where we could afford maybe 3 copies of the latest movie. They were going for about $100 each. Blockbuster would order 40 copies. So when the customer came in wanting the latest movie, chances are we couldn't supply it. So little by little, we would lose customers. Of course, the Blockbuster experience had nothing to do with being a fan base or a place to discuss movies. That was in and out. Yeah. And of course, they didn't have porn. So that lasted us a little while longer. Yeah. But it was all about money. It was about how many copies they could buy and advertise that we'll have the latest movie. And while there were, of course, diehard fans that wanted to see The Creature from the Black Lagoon or wanted to see Casablanca, a lot of people only wanted what came out yesterday.
Yeah, I've listened to a few interviews with you, and I know you've talked about this, how it was always the demand for what was new only, and just a total disregard for anything else that may have previously come out. I run into this issue a lot with books because I run a bookshop and I also do like a small publishing company. It's always, well, what's new? Well, there's plenty of great books already out that you can browse. You don't need the latest thing.
No, absolutely not. And it made me very angry. Black and white was not even considered by a great many people. Yeah, no. So anyway, it was wonderful while it lasted, but it was something that couldn't sustain itself. And as soon as DVDs came out, that was the end of it.
Now, at what point did you get out of the video shop game? Was it after you had already shot Video Violence?
Oh, yeah. All 3 movies were made while I was still the owner of both video stores.
Okay. So Video Violence 1, I assume was shot at Video Studio?
Partially. Some of it was at the Islin store. Some was in the Bound Brook store. Mm-hmm. And some was in Frenchtown, New Jersey. That was the small town that we filmed in.
Right. Yeah.
So the basement at the end of the movie is the Island store. All the other interiors is the Bound Brook store.
Now, a lot of the cast in that movie, will they just locals around town, maybe frequent video shop customers that you knew?
Well, I have always been involved in theater
Yes.
as a producer and a director. So I had a stable of friends who were not amateurs, who were good actors, in my opinion. And since this was all so new to everybody, shot on video, VHS, they were all very, very excited to be part of a movie.
Yeah, that's something Miguel and I have talked about in the episodes we have already recorded of your movies, is the acting is pretty awesome. Like, it's not something you might expect going into a shot and video movie, but the acting's great.
These were all theater people.
Yeah. How did you get into theater then?
Well, William Morris, of course.
Right.
No, I loved it way before. I was in theater in high school. I was in theater. I was a theater minor in college with a major in filmmaking. And I started my own theater while I was still at William Morris in Cranford, New Jersey. And it was a small off-Broadway style theater that lasted several years and groomed a lot of performers.
Nice. Now, Miguel, you had watched a documentary on YouTube and you had made a quote you wanted to bring up. Did you want to ask him about that quote?
Yeah. So this was a quote from, it was I think it was a podcast you were on. It was a documentary. I couldn't find the actual documentary, so it was just a trailer of the documentary, and it was called SOV Horror: The True Independence.
Yep.
So you said there was really only two choices if you wanted to shoot on video. You made a porno film or you made a horror film.
Exactly.
Now, we know you made horror films. Did you ever make porno films?
No, I didn't. The actors certainly weren't up for that, all of my actor friends, but I didn't really have any desire to do that. Once, and I don't want to turn it into a conversation about porn, but when porn was shot on 35 millimeter, you had real movies with stories and costumes and acting. And once it became video, no, it wasn't anymore.
And so we don't have to talk about porn anymore, but I have just one more question.
We could.
Oh, of course.
We could make the whole thing. No, but so you said
I saw Terry Hall once riding a bicycle in Greenwich Village. After that, what else can I say?
So you were talking about one of the reasons why, like, people used to go to video stores. Like, I appreciate you thinking I'm young. I'm 40. I'm about to turn 42. So I do have a lot of experience, like, with video stores growing up in the 80s. But I absolutely loved it. My home, I was born in Chicago. My place was called Ted's Action Video. I absolutely loved it. But you said, so people would go there for recommendations, but you said they would also ask for porn recommendations. Is that true? People would ask you, hey, I'm really in the mood for foreign ladies.
Wasn't so much. Well, first of all, you don't look like you're 42 something. So take the compliment. But yeah. I don't look like I'm about to be 72. So
you look good. You look good.
But it wasn't so much kink or specific types of films, because we really didn't bring in S&M films, etc. It was more like, do you have the newest Ginger Lynn? Is Tracy, whatever her name was, that got in trouble? Tracy Lord. Do you have a Tracy Lord movie? It was more recommendations of people that they liked in the movies.
Okay.
We just got pretty much just straight porn.
Okay.
I was listening to a podcast you did like a decade ago, and I believe you mentioned that you got involved with even owning a video store by being some type of porno consultant. Do you know what I'm talking about?
What kind of a consultant?
A porno consultant.
Yes.
No. I don't know what you're talking about. Really, I was never a porno consultant.
That's what they all say.
Yeah. Okay, I want to get a shirt that says porno consultant on
I
it.
made video violence. Don't forget that.
Okay. A pornographer of horror, we'll say.
Right.
Yeah. So then let's get in talking about video violence.
Okay.
So
We got to
Max-
begin with the
Oh, wait a
anecdote.
minute. Wait a minute.
Yes.
Hold on. Stop.
It's film time, baby.
I know what you're talking about. I would recommend to the head of the franchise which tapes to get. That's what I said. That's what I did. And I'm sticking to that story.
Okay.
No, it's true.
Oh, I gotcha. To video violence, you have
Yes.
a really infamous anecdote about what inspired this movie. Would you please recount that for the audience?
Okay. So I was in the store by myself, and this young mother comes in, and she's got a baby in her arm here, a toddler here, and a little boy who would still hold her hand, whatever age. And she's looking through the horror section, and she brings up to the counter. Honestly, I'm not sure. Blood Cult. I'm not sure what it is anymore, but she brings up one of those movies. And she says, "Is there any nudity in it?" And I said, "Well, there's probably arms being lopped off and eyes being gouged and evisceration and but probably no nudity." And she said, "Well, then that's all right. The kids can watch it as long as there's no nudity." And when I had that theater, I played Lenny Bruce in the play Lenny, and I was reminded of him saying, he way back in the 50s, if you see war pictures where women are brutally murdered and the tits are bloody, that's okay. But if the tits are gorgeous, you can't show it. And to me, I agreed with Lenny Bruce. I thought that was really pretty revolting.
Yeah, it's
Hypocritical.
It's still relatable now, I think. I mean,
Of course it is.
I think about when I was a kid and watching movies with my mom and dad, we could watch the most obscene stuff. But if someone showed breasts, I had to immediately cover my eyes. Decapitation's
Absolutely.
cool.
So that scene is in the first movie.
Yeah.
To some
It's
degree.
a great scene. It's really poignant. When we were discussing the movie on the first episode, that was like one of the scenes where like this feels different than other shot on video movies. It feels like
Good.
you were trying to say something. And
Yeah.
it came through really well.
Yeah.
In the first one and in Captives, I was trying to say something. In Video Violence 2, I wasn't trying to say too much.
You
was
just
going
unhinged as hell in that movie.
going for laughs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you want to make movies before video violence? Is that something that as a kid you wanted to do? Or could you just tell us a bit about the decision to be like, you know what, I'm gonna do this.
This is the one.
Now
Yeah,
I know
because-
you are too young for 8mm and Super
Yes.
8mm.
Yes.
But growing up, that was the most exciting thing there could be. Suddenly you could watch 20 minutes of The Bride of Frankenstein in your house. Castle Films put out these cuts of Universal movies and stuff. So yes, I made 8mm and Super 8mm horror movies. I made a James Bond movie. But then I really went into theater. So we're sitting around Video Violence, a couple of friends, and we're looking at what is coming in on shot on video. And we merely said, we can do better than this. So between making 8mm movies, this was really the first attempt at a commercial movie. And it was simply because we thought we could do it better. But all we really ever hoped for was to see it in a video store.
Which you just so happen to own.
How convenient.
Anybody's video store.
Yeah.
In fact, it'd be better if it wasn't ours. It would be great if and it did ultimately show up in a lot of video stores.
Yeah. Did it ever make it to the shelves of Blockbusters?
Oh no,
Okay.
no.
Are you
Okay.
And
kidding
I
me?
would look. I would look, but no, it didn't.
That's
Um,
okay.
So, so I recently, just like yesterday, spoke with somebody who made their own movie, like a shark exploitation thing, and they were saying, and I've heard before that whenever a movie gets made, it's an absolute miracle because so much stuff needs to happen for all that to come together. Is that how you feel? Like, is that how you felt like when you finished Video Violence? How did, like, a sense of accomplishment?
Yes, to a sense of accomplishment. No, that I thought it was overwhelming or there were too many pieces to deal with. I was very, very naive. And I just thought I could pretty much do it all. And I pretty much did a lot of it. I wrote the script with Paul Kay, a friend, we got people who filmed wedding videos to do the video, but I directed it and I edited it and I even appear in it for 2 minutes.
As the newscaster in part one, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
I wanted to ask, back when you owned the video shops, I assume you never got a snuff film in, but did you ever get anything odd returned to the shop that didn't
You mean
belong
like
to the shop?
what happened in Video Violence?
Yeah.
No. Sometimes someone would bring the closest is someone would bring in the wrong video.
Yeah.
Sometimes the wrong video from another store. But I never had anybody bring in a tape that they had taped onto.
That's a shame.
So that much we made up.
And how much of the process of filmmaking? I know you said that you were naive, but how much of the process of filmmaking did you know? Like, were you blocking off shots? Were you like, or was you just flying by the seat of your pants?
No, I really was directing it. We were really treating it seriously. And I love all the criticism of Video Violence. It's probably more fun than the praise. But the only criticism I bristle at is some people have said, well, what a stupid car chase. Well, it's not a car chase. They're following. You can't have a car chase on a bridge across the Delaware. They're following to see what's going on. It isn't a car chase. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So that reminds me that the opening shot when you're on, I believe you're following their car and you're going over bridges.
Mm-hmm.
Was it like all guerrilla filmmaking? Like, did you get any permits?
No,
or anything?
It wasn't really. It wasn't. I don't think this could happen today. But we went to the mayor of Frenchtown. You can't send emails. There was none of that. We knocked on the mayor's door and said, we would like to make a horror movie. He said, great. What do you need? They closed off a street. It can't happen today. It happened then. Now, I don't know if they're proud of it. They don't announce Frenchtown, home of Video Violence, but he let us do it all.
If I tried doing that in my town, I would get arrested.
Oh, no, you can't do it anymore.
They would lock me up if I asked somebody that.
No, they let us film outside a deli there. They let us film out all over the bridge and in somebody's house. That last scene before they go into the basement, but the exterior was someone who said, sure, you can use my house. It was a different time.
Is that when he's like, you stay out of this or you mind your business?
Yes, exactly. That was just somebody's house. We didn't know them.
Did you just show up one day and knock and go, hey, can we come in and film this?
People sort of knew we were making the movie over 2 weekends in Frenchtown. They kind of, after the first day, welcomed, expected us.
Okay. So I think my next question here is, how do we get an I'm a Lifer t-shirt?
Yes.
We see it in the movie. And then we see it also show up in Captives.
Yes, we do.
The babysitter has it.
Right.
Have you ever thought of merchandising?
No, but in the Videovore version that was put out on VHS, and I just am drawing a blank on my friend's name who put it all together. It'll come to me. But anyway, he packages a T-shirt along with the movie, and I'm a
Still currently,
lifer. What's that?
still currently, that is currently happening right now.
I don't know if it's
Okay.
still
I think it's out of
out.
print. I think it's out of print.
Is it?
Okay.
I'm pretty sure, but I'll look into
Yeah.
it again and update the podcast if
But
I'm
that's
wrong.
that was the last time you could get a video violence T-shirt.
Okay. Did you just outside of like shooting video violence, like did you have merch for the store, for your stores?
Well, we had the T-shirts.
Yeah.
And for the first couple of, I would say the first year of any video store, you would charge $100 to be a member. So you had the membership card. That all went away after the first year. But that's where I'm a Lifer at the video studio came from. We thought instead of charging a yearly fee, it would be $100 for a lifetime membership. But whose lifetime? The store, the customers? I never really knew, but we got away with it for about a year.
Did you have like a grand screening when video violence was done at the video shop? Like, did you do like some type of celebration at the shop?
That's a good question. I do think we told the cast that to come. Yes, I do believe we showed it for everyone, not captives, but the first video violence, especially when we realized it was going to be put out. And, it was first in the big box and then in the small box.
Well, let's talk about that. Like, you finished the movie. What happened next? How did you find someone to put it out? It was a camp video, right?
Yeah, we sent, and we were so pleased that we could put the graphic promo version on the bottom of the film. It was very primitive videotape back then. But anyway, we sent a screener to, I would say, 6 companies whose boxes I had in the video store, and I could look at the back and go, oh, okay, maybe they'll take it. 2 companies responded saying, we would like to release your film. So we said to both, what are you offering? Well, camp outweighed it completely. They were offering the big poster, the big box, the promotions, and a small amount of money. But the other company wasn't offering anything. So it went to camp.
So was this did you pay for this completely out of your pocket? Was it no budget filmmaking? Do you remember what the budget was for it? Did you have producers, that sort of thing?
36 cents.
Okay.
No, there was no budget. I'm sure I had some stuff out of pocket. I'm sure all of us did. The 2 people who donated the most producerially, monetarily, would be the 2 special effects guys. They never charged anybody for making all those special effects. And they were pretty
special
good.
Effects are amazing. They're
pretty good.
I mean,
how much of a conversation did you have with those guys, like coming up with the practical effects? Because
we would do it together, and they just loved every idea. The more outrageous, the better. And then they ran with it, and sometimes came back with even more outrageousness.
Of the movies you've done, do you have like a favorite practical effect?
I have a fondness for the head blowing up in the electrocution. And I have a fondness for the Draco-Matic when we put the faucet into the girl's chest and draw the blood. I like those 2.
How was the head explosion done?
I don't know.
Okay.
They really murdered somebody. What do
They
you mean?
killed that dude.
Probably. I really don't know. I just watched it and said, great, I hope we got it on tape. I also like the arm being chopped in the deli store. I like that too.
Oh yeah.
And
ground in the
ground into the meat. Yeah.
It's great. You have any meal of that poison lemonade sitting around?
No.
That's
That was 87. Man, it was a long time ago, and I'm so surprised we're here talking about it in 2023.
I can't tell you how thankful we are for your time. We were having an absolute blast, and you're an important voice in horror, and people need to hear your story and the stuff that you did, because we wouldn't be where we are here without you guys making, the stuff
That's
back then.
that's great. That makes it all worthwhile.
At what point? So camp, they pick up video violence. At what point did it hit you that like, oh shit, people like this movie and it's developing this crazy following?
Well, that's very interesting. We had no idea in the beginning. I don't think we knew there was a following until there was an internet.
Oh wow.
I had no idea. My only knowledge of how video violence was doing was how many copies it sold. I have no idea where it went, if anybody liked it. Not in this whole phenomenon right now didn't happen until the internet was well underway.
Can you remember like the moment, say online, like you made this discovery that, oh shit, this whole time people have been watching this movie and they love it? Like, was it a review? Maybe a video was posted?
No, I would say that I realized there was still a market for it was when I started to work with Camp Motion Pictures or Camp Video to make a DVD and to re-edit the film, not re-edit, reprocess the film. That's when I started to realize that there were people who were still following this event. And Camp did a great job. I'm just bad at names at my age, but the fellow who he went back to my U-matic master tapes and recut the entire film with better quality editing equipment. It was an amazing job. You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?
I do.
Oh, okay.
I do.
Well, it was funny because the podcast that I heard yesterday or heard this past week, I think you were on with him.
Yeah.
So I was just trying to look back at my history to see to find the person's name that you're talking about.
Because he was talking about the process of going through it, and you even.
Well, he was in my documentary as well.
Mhm.
I got him talking then too. He made a couple nudie movies. Here we go again.
Hell yeah.
For Camp, and I was actually in one of them as a book critic. But then he sort of stopped doing stuff. He was great.
Josh Schaefer?
Of course. Of course.
You knew it all along. You were just testing us, right?
No, I couldn't get it.
No, this is your chance. You were testing us.
May I suggest strongly that you have one of your podcasts be about Josh. He is single-handedly keeping VHS alive.
Yeah,
okay, yes, certainly.
Yeah, we
no,
will reach out to
don't
him.
neglect him.
We won't.
We're gonna drop your name on it to get us in.
Absolutely do it.
Connect
He's
us, man.
amazing.
So that was Video Violence. So I know Captives and Video Violence 2 came out same year, right? But which one did you shoot first?
We shot Captives,
right,
because it was much smaller in scope, and we wanted, I would say pretty much me, wrote that one by myself. I wanted to try my hand at something more dramatic, something with a storyline. And then the reaction to that was Video Violence 2, let's just go crazy. But I treated Captives very seriously, and I thought the actors did a hell of a job.
Oh, yeah. I think so. That was what we talked about a lot on the episode we recorded, was just how great the cast is, especially on Captives. It's a really good movie. I mean, we both liked it a lot.
Sorry.
I've had really, I would say 30 genuine offers to do Video Violence 3.
Gary, I would say I would love a sequel to Captives, only because what the fuck, man? How does Barry escape? How do we were furious. Like I love the movie a lot, but so could you just tell me the decision? But was it because you played him and you're like, I don't want to die in my own movie?
No, I wanted to leave it totally ambiguous. We always thought maybe we'd follow the next adventure of it, but we never did. But I wanted it to be ambiguous. I wanted my ex-wife to give me the finger, and that was that.
So,
Yeah.
so we will talking about this. We noticed that you will never in the same like shot as anyone else in the family. Was this because you will also like doing the camera? Like in the opening scene in the kitchen, we were paying attention, and you always seem to be isolated from the wife and baby.
Yes, it was because I was behind the camera. Absolutely.
Okay, I
Now,
told you,
think of it.
Miguel.
It absolutely was. I think when I'm in the shower, I probably asked Lisa, my ex-wife, to just kind of man the camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. That
A
was what I
Mod Pop
thought.
video.
That's what I thought. Miguel was like, no way.
No, I think
Not a
that's the
chance.
reason.
Okay.
Not true of video violence, two or video violence, but of captives, yes, it was the smallest crew. It was me.
How did you like that, like being the one operating the camera? Did you find that was like, did you prefer that, or do you prefer someone else operating it while you just kind of direct?
I certainly didn't mind being the director of photography as well, but if I had a choice, I'd rather someone better at that do it, and I would just direct. That would have been a preference.
What about
Is there-
the shot of the house in flames? Was that just footage you had found that you wanted to use into the movie? Or did you just say, okay, guys, let's go set this house on fire?
Now that's very interesting, because that was really the impetus to write Captives. The way that's seen in the video store that was a piece of 8mm film, or super 8mm film, that I found. We used to transfer at the video store super 8mm film to videotape. You would put it on what looked like a projector, but it really had a recorder in it, and it would transfer it. That piece of film was in the bottom of a box, along with some other pieces of film, of a customer who brought in their movies to be transferred. I have no idea why it was, whose house was burning. They could be arsonists for all I knew, but I stole that piece of film because I thought it would come in handy someday, and it did. And it also prompted some parts of Captives to be filmed on Super 8. All the scenes with the wedding and the pregnancy, all of that was filmed on Super 8 film to match the quality of the house on fire.
Wow. Someone right now is listening to this podcast and going,
yes,
so that's what happened to that
I was looking for that piece of film. It's incriminating. Whoever it is, don't worry.
They went into hiding after they realized it was missing.
Right. Don't worry, that piece of film is destroyed. We don't have that film anymore.
It's on Tubi. Anyone can watch it.
No, the original piece of film that has their fingerprints and mine on it.
That's a great question. Brings up a great question I had for you is, when you shoot on video, how do you then edit?
Well, that's a good question. Right now, if you were to shoot on video, it's magic. You use Final Cut Pro on a Mac. It doesn't destroy anything. You can create titles. You can create special effects. You can change the color. It's professional. Back then, you had 2 VCRs, and you would record and then press pause and load up another thing and then press. It was so amateurish, and that's why you would get what was called a moire, M-O-I-R-E. Sometimes in the edit, you'd see a little video ripple, and that was caused by the editing process. At least for Super 8, it was more sophisticated, and you didn't have that issue. So we could edit Video Violence 2 at the video store and not have so much trouble with the editing process. You would have 3 recorders, 2 players for 2 different tapes or however many, and then the recorder. So you 2 that are playing, 1 that's recording, and you could sort of do it live.
And then how about ADR? Did you have mics, or did you record the audio afterwards, or how does
Those
that go?
all those cameras had mics built in, and they were pretty decent. Most of them had 2 inputs, so we would do 1 mic hanging on a pole and 1 built in from the camera, which was sort of like telescopic. So between the 2, we got decent sound.
Yeah, the audio sounds pretty good on all 3 of your movies.
It's not
Yeah.
anything special.
Wait, so did you
Certainly
have
not body mics.
did you have to shoot in order for the movie? Like, how would you shoot different scenes, and then would you have multiple cassettes that you would label scene 5, scene?
Tons.
Oh, wow.
That's what Camp Video took and redid it. There probably was 25 different tapes that made up Video Violence 1.
Yeah, I saw a video of them taking those tapes
Out of a box.
Yeah, out
Yes.
of a box. It was quite a few.
Yep.
Do
And
they?
that's how you had to do it.
Yeah.
You didn't want it all on one tape. Could you imagine? You don't want to rewind or fast forward on video too much.
Right.
So you would want just 1 scene on a tape. Otherwise, if you were shuttling that tape back and forth, you would stretch it. It really wasn't very hardy.
Did you do
Yeah.
that with Captives, though, if I recall? Did
Yep,
you?
Same thing, only
Yeah.
it was Super 8,
Okay, gotcha.
which was a little more robust.
So you said a little bit that Captives you wanted to be different than Video Violence, and we both agreed it feels like a more mature movie. You feel like you're taking your time, like that opening sequence where we're seeing basically both households and how they're different, and we think that the one household with the nuclear family is like this wonderful family, and this other one dirtbags, right? And we're like, it's a really, really good approach to that. Were you able to do that because of your experience with Video Violence, or did you could have done that, but you thought that maybe Video Violence was the way to go first, like that was going to be the money
Oh, it
maker,
never
sort of thing?
occurred to me to do a serious one. Video Violence was exactly what came first. I wanted it in a video store and all that. Once that was under our belt, then we got cocky and said, let's make something a little more dramatic. But now it is so interesting that you talk about the scene where the kid's on the bicycle with the boombox. Now, the company that released Captives
Mhm.
and put it out as Mama's Home took that whole scene away.
That's a shame.
I have never been more angry in my life at that company. First of all, it's out of sync. Mama's Home is out of sync.
Right.
If you
Yeah.
have the VHS tape. Plus, the whole entire opening is gone. They show scenes of what's up and coming. Go figure.
Like scenes from later on in Captives, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Do they have like? I don't understand the logic, and I assume you don't either. It doesn't make any
I
fucking
never did.
sense.
Nope.
Can you talk about like when you found out they even did this? What was going on at the time?
I tried to sue them,
Yeah.
but they didn't have any money and we didn't have any money. But I wrote a nasty letter.
Yeah.
I cursed a little bit. The minute we got with the copy, I knew, and my jaw dropped.
What was their reasoning? Did they give you?
They
any
never
reason
wrote me
behind it?
back.
Okay.
That's insane.
That's why that's the hardest videotape to come across is an original copy of Mama's Home. It's the holy grail, they tell me.
So then the first cut of the movie was Mama's Home. How did we then get Captives?
No, the first cut was Captives. That's what I
Okay.
submitted to them. Then they bastardized it.
Okay.
Then I went back and said to Camp and to, come on, let's redo this. Let's do it the right way.
Okay. So we have them to thank for Captives, your original vision.
Yep.
We will halfway through the episode on Captives when Miguel suddenly paused because he had looked at the postal online for Captives, which has the Mama's Home name on it, and he paused and said, "Wait a second, who the fuck are these two people on the front cover? They're not in this movie. Who do you have
We had
any
nothing
idea?"
to say about that. Nothing to say about that. I supplied them with all the photos. This is what they came up with. I loved what, and I can see it behind you. I love what Camp came up with for both movies. I hated
Yeah.
what the company came up with for Captives. Hated it. Let's get off of that.
Okay, we get off that. One more question though about so in the house in Captives, there is a poster of Max Headroom.
Yes.
Are you Max Headroom? Are
Yeah,
you trying to tell us because
No, that movie came out when I was in the video store,
Mhm.
and I loved it. And we saved the I wanted the poster framed from that's my house, was my house
okay,
when I was
okay.
married. And we had the poster frame from the video store. I love that movie.
Yeah, Miguel and I have an idea that you might be the one responsible for the Max Headroom hackings.
Are you familiar with that? Do you know what
No.
that in the late 80s or early 90s in Chicago, somebody pirated the broadcast for WGN television news. And so it was the newscast, and then they pirated it, much like in Video Violence 2. I know you think you're slick. They pirated the signal, and they were just broadcasting Max Headroom. And it was just
funny.
really him saying weird things.
Oh,
And
that's
so
great.
Max and I thought you were trying to give us a little hint.
A
that
little
you-
confession.
Nope. I wish I did, but no, it wasn't me.
Okay. All right.
For those
we-
listening and not watching the video, which is only on Patreon, so for those listening, when he said that, he was doing finger quotes. So I don't know.
And to give a little wink. He gave a
Yeah.
little-
Oh, that's right. Nudge, nudge.
One last question we wanted to ask. So these movies were made with little Zach projections, and we figured out Zach is your son from in Captives. Yes.
Yeah.
Did you smother your son with a pillow in this movie?
Again, those two special effects guys, they came up with a baby.
They just had second baby.
No, it was not alive.
Oh shit!
No, well, it was a substitute for Zach. No, they came up with a fabricated baby. We didn't do anything to Zach. We hugged him.
So he's okay.
He's okay. He runs a rrestaurant. He's doing fine. He lives on Nantucket, and he's got a baby. So yeah, little Zach is fine.
Okay. It was funny because it was like Video Violence and then Captives. They both were Little Zach Productions, right? And was Video Violence 2 not a Little Zach production?
No, I think it was.
Oh,
It was,
it was the Halloweenville that wasn't. And
No.
Miguel was like, "How
by
come?"
then Zach was too old.
That's
He
what I
wasn't
said.
Little anymore.
That's exactly what I told Miguel.
I was like, we haven't heard from Little Zach. We need to figure
No, because
this
he's
out.
not little anymore.
Okay. All right. So, Max, was there anything else you wanted to ask about Captives?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I know we are running out of time, so we can move on.
Okay, cool. So you made Captives, and then were you like, that's enough of that serious shit? Let's get back to that ignorant shit, that violence, Video Violence too. Like, where did that? At what point were you like, I
Video
need to get
Violence
back?
2 was really supposed to take the violence to comic levels. Video Violence, when there's murders, it was murders. In Video Violence 2, it's just a cartoon.
Yeah,
Um,
it's Looney Tunes stuff.
yeah.
It's
No,
great.
it was just to be the Monty Python of shot on video horror.
And when did the idea come to make it like an anthology?
Oh, to call it Video Violence 2?
Or no, I'm sorry, like in the movie, it's just vignettes, right, of other like shorter stories.
Oh, again, me. Probably based on reading a Stephen King book that were short stories. Who knows?
I know there's a segment in Video Violence too that Miguel loves quite a bit that takes place at Christmas. Did you want to talk about that,
Oh,
Miguel?
you're
What
talking
is
about
it?
Wilbur.
Wilbur,
Yes.
yes. So I got to tell you, Gary. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Alamo Draft House, which is a movie theater chain in Texas. They started in Austin. That's where I'm in Austin. And before every movie, they show weird clips from movies, and you could be a movie from India from 1970 or whatever, just weird clips. They don't do commercials like when
Right.
AMC or whatever. So I've been going there for a very long time, and they would show this clip of Wilbur, but they wouldn't introduce it. They wouldn't say from Video Violence 2 or anything like that. So I had no idea where this clip was from. And so a month ago,
Wow.
whenever it was that me and when Max and I were recording Video Violence 2, this segment came on, and I about lost my shit. I was like, oh my God, this is Wilbur. This is where it's from. And I was so happy. Like that. It's amazing. I love that segment so much. It's so
I
great.
have to. I'm a little shocked that they showed it in a movie theater in Texas. I call these movies the movies that won't die, and they won't. It's just that there is an LP vinyl of the music of.
Great
Yes.
soundtracks too.
Yeah.
Amazing music. I want to still talk about this segment. How was, I assume, this puppet made, and who has it now?
I would have to say the two special effects guys, the two marks. I
Yeah.
would say they have it. I never asked for it. I assume they have it.
Have you seen a movie called Mandy?
Yes.
Do you think because we think maybe the people who made Mandy maybe saw Video Violence 2 and will inspired to make the Chettle Goblin commercial?
I don't. I will never let my ego give into this, but I've seen 2, 3, 4 movies that I say I think they stole some stuff. So I have no doubt about it. I think people have borrowed, which is, as they say, the greatest form of flattery.
Gary, so along the lines of like being shocked at how these movies continue on, what have you ever been like approached in public, or just like a story where you're like somebody recognizes you or comes up to you and just like, hey, I loved your work, and you were just like surprised by that?
No, it happens constantly from my 30 years in the theater, because
Okay.
I was on stage doing the promo for every show, the announcements and stuff, but nobody would recognize me now from those 3 movies. I had hair then. My hair was not white.
The people who recognize you from these shows, do they have any idea that you also made these movies? Well, it's just like a secret.
No, it's not a secret because all my Facebook pages are kind of all linked. So no, it's not a secret. The gal who gets her breast carved into Eli, she wound up being a rabbi. She probably is not broadcasting that she was in it. But short of that, listen,
Yeah.
it was young. We were young, and it was another time.
Well, before we leave, I know we wanted to bring up probably a question you get a lot, but like, has there been any attempts to make mill movies since Captives came out?
For me to make movies?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I made Halloweenville, which I don't think is great, but then I went on to make a documentary about a theater in the round in a tent in Lambertville that really was well done and well accepted. I'm retired from the theater, and I don't think I have it in me to make a movie. I'm writing a book.
Oh yeah.
And I wrote a play with a friend of mine the guy who plays Dracula. We in the movies, we wrote a play that's being produced in New York in the fall. and I'm putting the finishing touches on my book, but I don't have a desire to make a full length movie anymore.
That's totally understandable. What's the book
If
about?
someone offered me money, I'm no. Well, the book is interesting. Again, in the 70s, I started my own theater company, and the first place we were in was a church. So the book starts out with energetic college kids starting their own theater in a temple that is being sold because the congregation has shrunk. I don't want to give too much away, but it starts out being very much a theater. They're putting on Rent, and you learn about the actors, and it winds up that there's something pretty intense in the basement of the temple. And when all the Jewish anti-Semites and the anti-Black and anti-gay people in the town try to stop these shows, stop Rent from going on, it becomes a horror movie, a horror book.
Dude, it sounds amazing.
I'm really proud of it.
Do you have any like plans with how you want to publish it?
I have no idea what to do. I'm working on the final cleaning up of it, and
okay,
happy that I'm doing it because I'm changing some things. Then I didn't know, do I self-publish on Amazon? Do I send it out to? I have no idea. It's all new to me. I did write 2 books on theater, but I took it right to a theater publisher. There was no question.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, when you finish it, if you feel interested, hit me up. Like I said, I publish spooky books. As you can see,
really?
This is my company. We publish spooky books.
Oh, well, you got it.
Yeah, I would love to take a look at it.
And then does it go into a Barnes and Noble, or is it all online?
No, it's in bookshops, it's online, it's all over the place. Yeah.
I'm going to take you up on it because I'm lost. Do you want to see it in a form before this last edit, or wait till I really am so happy with it?
Yeah, why don't you send it to me when you will completely satisfied, and I would love to read it and talk to you about possibly putting it out. That would be awesome.
You're on.
Awesome. I think that's pretty much it then. Miguel, did you have any follow-ups before we wrap it up?
I mean, I could honestly, Gary, you have been a great guest. You've been so gracious with your time, and you've been so friendly. I think I feel like I can talk with you for a very long time, but that's the best way to end it. There's no other ending.
All right. How will I find it online so I can tell people to watch it?
Oh, I'll send you a link.
Perfect.
And Gary, we're going to, if you have socials, your Facebook, we can link that in the show notes. But if you happen to know those, you can tell them, so you can say them right now so we can have people follow you.
Well, there is a video violence Facebook group. And we didn't talk about the fact that I'm in a band and have been for the last 9 years. That could be next. But the band is called the Back Porch Jug Band, and it's an authentic jug band. So if people want to see that, there's also a Facebook page for that.
That is incredible. I am going to look that up moments after we stop talking.
I'm the guitar and banjo player.
Hell yeah. All right, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for doing this. We had a blast. We love the movies you've made, and it's cool that we can talk to you now about them.
After you exhaust all the other people, I'd be happy to come back and do part 2.
Hey, when the book comes out, let's do it again.
Live spooky, die spooky.